rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. So, real quick, question came in. I think it's kind of already been answered. So the reflecting pool, which had blue painted on the bottom, and it was a blue sealant, because the reflecting pool was actually leaking thousands of gallons of water every year, hundreds of thousands of gallons, I think. But there's pictures that are coming out now that are showing that it's green. The reflecting pool is actually green, and the problem is there was algae that had built up in the filler tubes, and all of that algae got released, and so it's going to take a little while for it to clean itself up. They're working on it. It will eventually be blue once it is clear, once they get it clear. But for right now, it's the water that's actually green, not the pool itself. The pool itself is blue underneath all of that green. And honestly, it's because it's been neglected for, decades, I guess. So there you go. There's your answer. And that was confirmed, by the way, not only by my unofficial producer, but also by a couple of knowledgeable people, i.e. the people who actually did the work. They were interviewed afterward, and it was asked, that was the question that was asked is, well, why is it green? Well, it's because the water that was coming back in was running through tubes that were filled with algae. And so algae has gotten into it. So they have to cycle it through, recycle it, and clean it up, but it will eventually get to its blue color. Just going to take a little bit of time. And there you go. All right. Let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight is Squishy. That's right. Squishy is up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Squish as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and I thank you, Squish, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. And then send it off to me. You can send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I have 24 of these. I need 26 by the end of 2026. Yeah, that would be nice to get them by the end of 2026. So 2 more people need to send them in. If you haven't done so yet, I would appreciate it. And if you use your phone to do the recording, then all you need to do is click the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. And you'll be able to send it to me at fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And like I said, I'll get you into the rotation right away, or as quickly as I can. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and talk about our headline sponsor, which is none other than The American View. That's right. It used to be called the Institute on the Constitution, but it is now called The American View. And you can get there by going to theamericanview.com, theamericanview, all one word, .com, and you'll be presented with a fantastic deal. Oh, my gosh. Same great Constitution course, a brand new package. They've got a summer sale going on right now. The Government versus God and the U.S. Constitution course bundled together for half off. It's now $100. $100 for that package. And just so you know, the American View has a mission, a vision. Their vision, of course, is to create a nation of effective and influential contributors to American government, society, and culture, prepared by educational resources that are focused on the biblical and transformative heritage of America's founding. That's right. The Judeo-Christian roots of this country are demonstrated in the information that is being presented by the American View. And you obviously should go and check out their Constitution course. That's their first course. You can start your constitutional journey by typing in your first name, last name, and your email address right here, and click the Get Lesson 1 free. It is a nationally recognized 100% self-paced online course. There's 12 short lessons. Each lesson is roughly 15, 20 minutes long. I was looking through my emails, trying to clean up some of my emails because my email box has grown pretty full. And boy, lo and behold, I still had the 12 lessons that I took a couple of years back. So there you go. Go and sign up for the course. Start your constitutional journey, I should say. And once you are done with that, maybe you'll consider joining the American View by either being a donor, a sponsor, or becoming a member, or even better yet, becoming an instructor. Yes, go ahead and instruct others. Leave a legacy. Leave a legacy for yourself by becoming an instructor. They have 2 videos here that you can see. One is how to become an IOTC instructor. The other is 5 tips for a successful class. They're going to help you out. They will help you out by all of that. And let's see. I don't know what happened. What's going on here? Oh, Barb liked my comment of hello over at Facebook. Hi, Barb. All right. So the Institute on the Constitution. Oh, there she goes. Hi from the farm in Ohio. Anyway, and you can also pick up, if you decide to become an instructor, you have an instructor kit. Believe me, they give you everything. They give you the whole 9 yards. All you have to do is be brave enough to stand up in front of people and discuss what you have learned out of your own course. And, you can do that. They have this instructor kit in their shop. You can go to their shop by going to the upper right-hand corner of theamericanview.com and clicking the red word shop. And once you are there, you can check out all of their other educational resources, the U.S. Constitution course itself, the self-evident apparel line, other instructor materials, and my personal favorite right here above my head. That's right. Head into the Legacy Library. The Legacy Library is filled with leather. I love leather. Leather objects like the leather Bill of Rights, the leather Declaration of Independence, the leather Magna Carta, the leather U.S. Constitution wall hanging, the leather pocket gospel set, which is a 4-book set. That is fantastic. And, of course, my personal favorite right here in my hot little hands. The leather-bound U.S. Constitution book. That's right. And as my Whiskey Warrior 3 Chevy says, each rounded cornered Saddleback leather book purchased will cause a liberal to have intestinal dysfunctions. My unofficial producer wants you to know that it has sexy rounded corners. It's got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. Look at that stitching. It goes all the way through the leather and the pages contained within. It's got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem with this product, you can send it back to the manufacturer, and they will either fix it or replace it for free. It is Buddy tested, Buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved, and my youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to achieve your civics badge in scouting. It'll also help you pass that civics exam as well as your naturalization test, because there's a lot of information in this book, man. I'm telling you. It's pocket-sized. Stick it in your pocket. Carry it with you. Travel with it. Never leave home without your constitutional rights written down as a part of your everyday carry, your EDC. This should go into it. Anyway, head on over to theamericanview.com, go into their shop, their legacy library, and you will find this wonderful book. Get yours today. Don't forget to get others. Get a gift. Get it as a gift. It is a keepsake. It is a, what do you call it, an heirloom. Pass it down from one person to the next. It's incredible. Once again, go to theamericanview.com, go to their shop, their legacy library, and you'll be able to pick up that Leather Constitution book up today. Also, don't forget to check out the rest of the theamericanview.com's offerings across the board. Go and check them all out. The American View, and I thank them for sponsoring this program. All righty. Well, you know, when they first started campaigning together, both Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, they demonstrated they had no fear of the legacy media. Well, J.D. Vance today made an appearance in the Witch's Den. That's right. He made an appearance on The View. And let me just point out that, well, he showed no fear, which is what you have to do when you are faced with a coven full of witches. And, yeah. Anyway, he started off, oh my gosh, he started off just incredibly well. Oh, here, take a listen to him coming out after he got announced.
I was surprised at how tall you were. He's very
Well,
tall.
if you only see somebody on TV, you just see their, in my case, giant head. So
We all
it hides how
have
tall
giant
I am.
heads,
That's right.
We are the table of big heads here.
So this is a show of MAGA Republicans, right? That's
Yeah,
what my
right,
media
yes.
team told me? Okay, good.
Well, we'll find out.
As you can tell, he started off with a joke. He's like, oh, yeah, hey, first of all, you know, just remember, my media team told me that this is the show of MAGA Republicans, which we all know is false. Yeah, he was lied to by his media team, if that was true. It's not. Give me a break. He knows. Come on. He knows. But at least he set it up. Now, to be honest, I do have to admit Whoopi Goldberg was like, hey, we're going to find out. You know, I mean, at least she didn't get really nasty in the beginning. But anyway, it went about as well as you could expect. Here is a piece, a clip with Joy Behar. Yeah, I'm going to call her the Wicked Witch of the North. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, so here he is answering Joy Behar's question, or, well, lie.
Okay. So President Trump has called affordability a hoax. He said that, not me. He's pouring money into this ballroom of his and the reflecting pool. Oh, don't forget the Arch de Trumpe, I call it, and a White House cage match. All these things. Why is he doing them when you just, everybody knows that Americans are struggling? What is he spending all this money for?
Well, I got to defend the president on the hoax point. What the president said is the idea that Republicans caused the affordability problem is a hoax. And I think that's true. If you go back to the Biden administration, inflation got up to 9% under the Biden administration, okay? Right now it's at 3.5%. By the way, too high. We're doing everything that we can to bring it back down to 2.5%, which is where most people would like to see it. But we inherited an affordability problem. We're doing a lot to make it better. It's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot more work to do. But the president knows that a lot of Americans are struggling. In fact, he ran on that. He talked about it. And we've done some things and made some good progress on that point.
He just said he loves the inflation.
What he said, Anna, what he said is that he loves the fact that the inflation is going to come down when this war is over. That's what he said.
That's not what he
That
said.
wasn't a direct. Are you his interpreter or are you his vice president? Come on.
Well, look. What the president said. People were asking about the inflation. They were asking about the affordability problem, which again is very real. And what he said is, "I love the inflation because it's going to come down when the war is over." And now, again, we already see gas prices. Gas prices today, $4.06 a gallon, too high, but way down from where they were just a couple of weeks ago. So there's a lot, there's a lot we got to do, but I think that we're doing as much as we can. We're going to keep on working at it. And again, the American people are going to make their verdict. But
well, I mean, as you can see, he handled that quite, I'm going to say, quite efficiently. And speaking of that, the Iran or the all right, look, I'm not going to necessarily comment on the Iran deal because, honestly, it's not a deal. It's a memorandum of understanding. We don't have a final deal. They're sitting here and they're talking, you know, all of this about, oh, yeah, it's a final deal, final deal. No, this isn't the final deal. And by the way, it's also contingent, reportedly, because we still haven't seen the actual text of the thing. But reportedly, it is contingent upon Iran being able to stay within certain boundaries. Well, all of that, of course, because of the way that the the president has been putting out there. Which, by the way, I'm just going to say, okay, in stuff like this, I have a skeptical nature. And the reason why is because Iran has been under some sort of an agreement since like the late 1970s or the early 1970s. I don't know, whatever it was. And they've violated it all the time. So no offense, but their track record ain't all that great in keeping their word. So I'm not going to hold my breath because otherwise I would be dead. And, you know, Dan Bongino says, don't get dead. So I'm not going to hold my breath. Now, that being said, do I necessarily believe the president over Iran because Iran is saying one thing, the president is saying something else? Well, right now, all I know is that the president can say whatever the hell he wants. Same thing with, you know, good old J.D. Vance there. They can say whatever they want. It's all going to be up to whether or not the Iranians actually hold true. Now, keep in mind, I know as well as anybody else that a Muslim has permission through the Quran to be able to lie to any non-Muslim. So there you go. That's just, I'm sorry. I have a very non-trusting nature when it comes to this kind of stuff. So as much as I would love to say that, yes, Donald Trump is announcing good things, I'm not exactly sure if it's really going to come to fruition. So we're just going to have to see. We're going to have to play it by ear. Now, supposedly that same Iran deal is going to essentially going to what do you call it? Hand it over to. He's going to hand it over to Congress. And in fact, J.D. Vance even says, yeah, it's supposed to be released this week. Again, today's Tuesday. Who knows? But anyway, I digress. Back to The View with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance was, I don't know exactly where the question came from or whatever, but, obviously Sonny Hostin was pushing the claim that the illegals, the majority are not criminals, and that J.D. Vance and crew is what do you call it? Is separating kids from their families. Well, he had an interesting way to handle this. Let's take a listen.
I'd like to pick up on this theme because I think it's really important. We do have to strike a balance, of course, between enforcing our laws. We don't want to dehumanize people. That is the balance that, look, law enforcement, what I'd say about this, law enforcement is always inherently not a very pretty process, especially when you're dealing sometimes with violent people, with people who are resisting arrest. Some of the people that I've been told by the media were completely peaceful, had never violated any laws. You actually look into the record and you find out that those people were actually being violent, or they did have a criminal record. They had a sex trafficking conviction.
Don't have criminal records. The majority of people that ICE is rounding up and taking out of their homes from their families, they're separating families. They're using children as bait.
But
the majority are not criminals.
But can I respond to that, guys? Let me just say this. Okay. So you talk about the children. Here's what I'd say. Do we know that during the last administration, we had tens of thousands of children who were sex trafficked by the cartels, who were brought into our country in profoundly dangerous and predatory conditions?
Let's talk about this administration.
But here's the point. Unless you enforce the border, you invite that kind of conduct. You think that our immigration policies are inhumane based on the reporting of one person with a political bias. What I'm telling you is that it's inhumane to allow cartels to sex traffic people across our border. And by the way,
please hold on.
I appreciate that. We're going to get you back, Anna.
We're coming back with more.
Well, one thing that I wish that J.D. Vance had said, which he didn't, and I'm a little disappointed in this, is the fact that, well, we're enforcing the laws that have been on the books since, President Clinton signed them. Yeah. Immigration law has not changed that much at all. And immigration law enforcement, they're just doing their job. They're enforcing the laws that are already on the books. The previous administration reneged on their word, their solemn word, as they stood there. I will enforce the laws. Yeah, the previous administration didn't do that. So, yeah, sorry, ladies. I mean, I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, that's one thing that I wish that J.D. Vance had mentioned. Was like, look, we're not enforcing anything that hasn't already been on the books for decades. Yeah. Anyway, keep in mind, again, that, like G points out, if you come across the border illegally, you are a criminal, period. That is true. That is true. And, and, by the way, my unofficial producer, if you are a U.S. citizen and you get arrested, you get separated from your family and kids. Why would it be different for an illegal? There isn't. And yes, J.D. Vance was correct. There were tens of thousands of children. They estimated somewhere around 350,000. And they've only picked up about 175 back. Anyway. Well, all right. Whoopi Goldberg, we've been avoiding her for a while. But she had to get her licks in. And, of course, it had to be the race card. So, let's go ahead and, unfortunately, we got to give her a little bit of screen time in order to hear what J.D. Vance says. Here we go.
And you were talking about people. What did black people do to this administration that has allowed it to really stigmatize folks of color? And you know how hard it is. You have folks of color in your family.
Sure.
So when you see, things, the Emmett Till stuff coming down, or them doing all kinds of removal of information of black heroes, how does that sit with you?
Well, what exactly are you talking about, Whoopi? Because you just, I know Emmett Till was the kid.
Yeah.
No, I want to know what she's.
You don't know what I'm
respond
talking
to your
about.
actual point.
So in a lot of the museums, there's so many. Where they're taking down the actual history that happened in this country. Slavery happened. All kinds of stuff happened, and it seems that.
All right. First of all, I just want to point out, no, there's nothing that is taking away from the history of this country. In fact, Florida by itself, a couple of years ago, even before this administration, Florida went ahead and implemented in its educational system a guarantee that black history will be taught, that the significant figures that we have all heard about, from, many, many years, that they are going to be front and center. And that if anything is missed, you can make a request to the Florida Educational Department, and they'll, put it together, consider it, and potentially add it the next educational cycle. So I'm trying to understand, and I think this is part of where J.D. Vance is coming out. Like, I'm not quite sure I follow where you're talking about. And even Whoopi seems to be having and struggling to try and come up with, and this is so common. This is so common about when you have a leftist, when they sit there and they give you some sort of a talking point, is the best way to describe it. When they give you a talking point, they're taking down all the statues. They're taking down our history. Okay, what exactly? What exactly are you taking down? I mean, has the president said anything about Black History Month, which is February? I seem to recall that has happened the last 2 years. Again, it's like, give me some specific examples. Don't talk generalities. Give me a specific example. Well, let's see. Maybe she'll be able to pull it out right here.
It has been very easy for this administration to remove that, and also to denigrate black folks who have worked their behinds off to get this American dream. How do you, you know better.
So Sonny, that was actually a very helpful intervention, because I think the story you're talking about is where, allegedly the administration is holding back the appointments of people based on skin color.
I'm talking about a host of things. I'm talking about black history getting erased from public spaces. Black voter districts are being dismantled. Black leaders are being sidelined from our ranks. Where do Americans of color fit in this vision? Because it doesn't seem like we fit.
Wait, hold up. Wow, Sonny. Woo, lady. I don't think she realizes, because she's dumb. I don't think she realizes she is actually discussing where she talks about the black districts being taken away. That was because of the fact that they literally created the district specifically for black people. And that is, by its very nature, racist and against the Constitution. I don't know where, and again, as much as I love J.D. Vance, that would have been, to me, that would have been like that would have been the first thing that I would have hit back. And I also would have said, hey, that one, quote, majority black district, in Tennessee and Memphis had a white person for 20 years. An old white guy for 20 years as their representative. So I'm not sure where you have a leg to stand on in terms of all this. Why can't just the districts just be districts based on population and not all this other like, oh, well, you know, more Democrats vote in this district. No, just get rid of it. Just, hey, the only thing we need to care about is population. That's it. That's it. So there you go. Not to mention the fact, but I'm also a little disappointed because I would have thought J.D. Vance would have been like, okay, what leaders are you talking about? Are you talking about Wesley Hunt? Are you talking about Byron Donalds? Are you talking about, you know, all these other black folks that are all in the Republican Party that are not part of, say, the Democrat congressional or the Congressional Black Caucus, which is supposed to be bipartisan, but is actually all Democrats? Yeah. Anyway. All right. Unfortunately, he was outnumbered, but he put himself there. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, he did continue, by the way, and he basically did say, and he goes, look, Washington, D.C., one of the most democratic and one of the most, by share of population, black populated cities. He says, has seen a radical decrease in violent crimes, sexual assaults, murders. We have tried to take the crime issue seriously, in part because we believe everybody, whether you are black or white or rich or poor, deserves to live in a safe neighborhood. Now, he said that, which is fine. And he's right. I mean, yes, there is a reason why they targeted those neighborhoods. Have any of these people on The View actually looked at crime statistics? I mean, where are your consistently ranking in the high end of crime, violent crime in particular? Well, let's see. I can name them off. Baltimore, a very large population of black folks. Chicago, especially the South Side. Yep, large population of black folks. Let's see. I'm trying to think right off the top of my head. Oh, yeah, New York. Oh, yeah, yep. Especially in the boroughs. Yeah, that's large population of black folks. Los Angeles, large population of minorities, whether it's black folks or Hispanic folks. Memphis, thank you. Memphis, Tennessee, St. Louis. Let's see. Dallas. Houston. Yeah, and there is a common problem across all of that. And I guarantee you, if you were to take any one of those cities and you were to graph out any of the areas that are involved with this, you would find, yeah, majority black neighborhoods that are in and amongst these high crime areas. Now you have to ask yourself, what's that? Why does it have to be a black thing? Well, that's what I ask myself all the time. Why does it have to be a black thing? I mean, you can't avoid statistics, which has demonstrated that 13% of the population is involved and commits 50% of the crime, and that the vast majority of that crime is black on black. So you ask me, and I mean, I would have preferred J.D. Vance, maybe not to be quite as antagonistic as, say, Ben Shapiro was at this one point, but I would have liked to have seen J.D. Vance just hit back and go, well, okay, you want us to do something about this crime, how about this? And then bring up statistics, true statistics about it all. But that wasn't the purpose of him being there. He was there, I think, in order to try and extend the olive branch to The View, and maybe even try to reach across the aisle, because don't forget, if he decides to run in 2028, because as of right now, he is not going to announce his decision. He has to, reportedly, he has to talk to his wife first, and he also wants to wait until after the midterms before that. But think of it this way. He's going to have to cobble together his own coalition of voters, just like Trump did, just like every candidate has to. Because as we've seen, you can't take from one president to the next candidate, meaning from a outgoing president such as Obama. Obama cobbled together his coalition of voters, and Joe Biden attempted at one point, or, well, actually, I should say Hillary Clinton attempted at one point to try and keep that coalition together, and it failed. Joe Biden cobbled together his coalition, and while Donald Trump wouldn't have been a Democrat, but Kamala Harris tried to carry that coalition, and it failed. And this happens a lot. It's very rare for a president, an outgoing president, to be able to hand over a coalition torch to his or her successor and expect the coalition to deliver. It is difficult. History demonstrates that it's only happened a few times. And when it did, that secondary person, unfortunately, only served for maybe one term because the coalition that was cobbled together and held together between the two terms fell apart. So all I'm going to say is if J.D. Vance is attempting to try and reach across the aisle to get some, let's call them middle-of-the-road voters, that could explain the direction and the tack that he took with this kind of thing. Anyway, there we go. So at least he is strong enough and comfortable enough to be able to go into the witch's den. All right. Speaking of the witch's den, we have Gavin Newsom. That's right. Gavin Newsom. Oh, he's running scared. You know why he's running scared? Because apparently, as he says, he's being investigated by the DOJ. Well, not exactly. But Gavin is going to try and use this as a hater gatherer. All right. And anyway, he announced and he revealed yesterday the Trump Justice Department has been knocking on his door over the last several days, demanding unspecified records as part of an investigation into him, he said. Well, actually, no, that's not entirely the case. They are looking at his chief of staff, who has apparently already been under investigation. And they are looking at his wife for tax challenges. That's what we have here. So, yeah. Although Gavin Newsom, and by the way, Gavin Newsom himself isn't even really part of this. Okay. They're not. So reality definitely doesn't fit here. And, here's the other thing. This isn't a Trump investigation either. It was actually started under Biden. Yeah. Yeah. So, it's multiple investigations, and they are related to Newsom, but not Newsom directly. So one started in 2025. That was the one with his wife and her taxes. A separate DOJ investigation into the chief of staff was launched during Joe Biden's administration and remains open. Those investigations originated, by the way, in Sacramento itself, in California itself, and involved whistleblowers and sources in the state rather than coming from Washington. So, yeah. There's also apparently a investigation into the free diapers pledge, funneling money from the program through a nonprofit headed by a friend of the California's self-described first partner. So, yeah, there you go. So they're starting to look into this, but it's not Newsom. It's not Newsom directly. It really isn't. For now. Whether or not he was aware of all this, though, is going to be questionable. But yeah. So they're looking into people that he has surrounded himself with. Although he's going to ride that train. He's going to try and ride that political propagandist train as much as he can. But the reality of it is that no, it's not Gavin Newsom himself. He is being questioned, of course. The records of his are being requested and subpoenaed or whatever it is. But yeah, it's not what you think. Although he's going to try and run it. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the UFC event. First of all, there was I don't know if anybody was aware of this. There was some sort of a liberal counter-programming against it, and, well, it didn't go off very well. Yeah, they had Bette Midler singing some crazy song. I won't subject you to this. Yeah, it's terrible. You had Joy Reid up there, Joy Reid ranting and raving about how she got fired. And even though it was actually, she was fired. Yes, Bam, it was started under Biden. Both of them were. One in 2025, one earlier than that. They also started and originated in Sacramento, California. Yeah, I'm not I'm not gonna see. And then of course, Jane Fonda was up there. Yeah, they trotted her out with all of her plastic surgery. I don't even think she could like change her lips at all. But anyway, didn't go on. And of course, I cannot forget. Good old Robert De Niro in a profanity-laced stream of epithets, was standing up there and discussing as well. Same thing with, what was her name? Pretty woman gal. I can't think of her name right off the top of my head right now. I can picture her face. But basically a bunch of irrelevance. I mean, let's be honest. It was a bunch of old, irrelevant people that kind of went, old, irrelevant celebrities that were there. And reportedly, Julia Roberts. Thank you very much. Julia Roberts. Yeah. And also, too, keep in mind that the crowd, reportedly, was a bunch of old white people. Whatever. Anyway, typical. But on the other side of the fence, for the FBI, for the UFC event, the FBI actually did their job. Now, this is the difference between a DOJ that actually knows what they're doing. And by DOJ, I mean FBI, and all of the intelligence and everything else. Apparently, there was a terrorist attack being planned. There was a plot, and we're starting to get more and more details as things go. But apparently this plot, there's 5 people that have been arrested for this. But apparently this plot included things like drones, and the drones were going to be used with explosives on them in order to create panic. And then what these people were going to do, is they were going to try and funnel everybody down into essentially what would be a sniper attack. Now these are fanatical TikTokers is how they're being reported according to the New York Post. And these people, it was a multi-phase plot. And it was, again, the drones were going to strike on the south lawn during the event, forcing the attendees to run. The sniper team would then pick them off. They were planning on having up to 5 teams. This is what we know so far. Up to 5 teams, each team being 3 people. One is a lookout, one is a sniper, and one is a drone operator. And apparently, these guys, and yes, I am calling them men because one of them was 19. He's barely a man. This is what he looks like. I don't want to put his name out there, but this is what the guy looks like. There he is. Yeah. So, anyway, apparently these guys all got together and they were in a Signal chat room. Now, I've heard estimates of anywhere from like 10 to 12 to 25 others. Whatever it is, I don't know for sure. I'm not even sure that anybody really knows how many are actually part of it. But anyway, in the chats, and as a part of they were also part of a TikTok group. And they were ultra-religious guerrillas. They were espousing anti-government and anti-Israel views. They started plotting back in March before moving conversations to a private Signal group called Hunters. Now, apparently, the 5 that have been arrested, they were charged in at least 4 states, California, Ohio, Missouri, and Nebraska, with conspiracy to commit murder and murder members of the government and others after a parent of one of them alerted local police. Now, reportedly, they also had names of potential targets. They were looking at people like, obviously, Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They were all named as potential targets, even though I know Benjamin Netanyahu never even showed up. But anyway, they also had members of Congress reportedly on these lists, as well as a West Virginia state lawmaker, according to some of the court docs that were out there. The suspected ringleader said in one of the messages, "We want to get as many and get as deadly as we can get." So, yeah. Reportedly, too, they had stockpiles of weapons, and somebody spent like $3,000 in weapons and ammo, according to one report. They had a bunch of grievances. Grievances including government corruption, handling of Jeffrey Epstein files, data centers taking up all the water in communities, and other government actions, as well as billionaires and capitalist elites. Yeah, that's a lot of claims there. So, yeah. The affidavit from the mother of the one that got turned in Ohio, she said that her son had been leaning heavily into his Christian beliefs, but she expressed that those she saw in the chat group had been using religion to manipulate and influence her son. So, yeah. There we go. Anyway, they were talking about targeting everybody. Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, Jim Justice from West Virginia, Shelley Moore Caputo from West Virginia, as well as West Virginia GOP reps, Carol Miller, Riley Moore, state delegate Tristan Levitt. They also have, a bunch of different ones. I mean, this is just nuts. This is just absolutely nuts. Now, reportedly, the FBI actually infiltrated the group in the chat and was able to identify these people and arrest them and keep them essentially out of this. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, one of the guys, the guy in Ohio also, family members drew the authorities' attention to the comments that he had made online expressing sympathy for Nazi leader Adolf Hitler. So there you go. Yeah. So there you go. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but I do need to say this. If the DOJ had not done their job and had been focused on, I don't know, let's see, Christian faith-based groups that the SPLC put out, yeah, that would have been a really bad thing, right? Speaking about the SPLC. Apparently, the SPLC had a woman who was a top official. And she, according to the superseding indictment that the Department of Justice has filed, she is accused of helping to funnel $1.2 million. Yes, $1.2 million in donor money to an informant in the National Alliance white supremacist group, who was also allegedly her lover. Oh, yeah. There you go. So in the indictment, the New York Post has been all over this thing. And if you get a chance, you should go and read the article. It is just amazing how these people operated. But anyway, one figure who was reported and referred to in the indictment as employee number 2 is described as the person who would become director of the SPLC's intelligence project. It also describes how employee 2 wrote an article based on material stolen from the National Alliance headquarters in 2014 and then paid off an informant to take the blame for the robbery. So they were actually paying these people to take blame for the robbery, and they were paying these people. Apparently, they were paying in more than just money. This woman was obviously paying in other ways. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, come on. This is ridiculous. Apparently, F9, who is her lover, I suppose, F9 infiltrated the neo-Nazi organization National Alliance, and between 2015 and 2021, approximately $140,000 in donors' money flowed from the SPLC's operating account and was ultimately deposited into, get this, a joint bank account held by both F9 and employee 2. Yeah. If you really want to see who the New York Post thinks it is, you can go and check out the article. But trust me, do you know that? I don't know. Anyway. So, by the way, that amounted to approximately 66% of all the money that was ever deposited into the joint bank account. And then they used the donor money to pay the couple's personal living expenses. Yeah. Talk about fraud. Oh my gosh, that's the fraud. That is completely fraud. And anyway, do you remember, several years ago, they were talking about the Biden DOJ? Yeah, this is the difference. Here. The AFL, which is a conservative legal nonprofit, acquired, this is America First Legal. They have a new document that they have acquired that basically proves that former Attorney General Merrick Garland, October 4th, 2021 memorandum targeted concerned parents at a school board meeting during the COVID pandemic, and they also have documents that state, well, there's warnings from the FBI officials and National Sheriff's Association as a part of this, basically saying, well, yeah, we're not really interested to do this. A top DOJ official wrote in one of the emails, I don't think it's possible to state how strongly I object to this being the targeting of the people at school board meetings. He goes, I will completely and totally nuke our election threats efforts and will damage the reputation of the public integrity section into the bargain. It's like they've affirmatively trying to make this thing not work and look political. He goes, if they do this, they might as well rename the damn thing the Anti-MAGA Task Force. The National Sheriff's Association also shared concerns, saying, well, the National Sheriff's Association reached out to officials in the Associate Deputy Attorney General's office, stating that its sheriffs had not heard any concerns about threats to local school boards, and that it would have been nice to have a heads up. Anyway, despite the concerns that were raised, Garland's memo was issued on October 4th of 2021. Attorney General Garlick said threats against public servants are not only illegal, they run counter to our nation's core values. Those who dedicate their time and energy to ensuring our children receive a proper education in a safe environment deserve to be able to do their work without fear for their safety. However, nobody else other than the memo, they were all like, what are you talking about? There's nothing. We don't have anything. There's nothing going on here. Yeah. You want to talk about the DOJ being weaponized? I don't think so, Scooter. All righty, folks. That's about it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget on your way out, give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down if you really want, or a thumb sideways, or maybe even in an angle across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night for Whiskey Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.